Well, first of all, it's wild to think that I've been living in New York now for 22 years or more, and I moved here when I was 24, and I started playing guitar when I was 10. So I never really imagined myself becoming a New Yorker and living here. But since I grew up in Israel and started playing at the age of 10, and when I was 14 or 15, I already had people start to tell me that I need to move to New York. I don't know why, but you see, you hear the sirens now. I'm really a New Yorker. It's pretty amazing that I'm here and I'm playing guitar and doing what I'm making records, and you know, there's really no other place than New York for, at least for jazz. So pretty wild after so many years that I'm here and doing what I'm doing. Booga Looga Loo is actually, it's kind of like a drum feel. It's like boom, choop, booga looga loo, ch, booga looga loo, ch. So that's the idea behind the name. It's just like I heard the drum groove and I kind of thought of it. Suddenly I heard Booga Looga Loo. I don't know, it's kind of a funny thing in my head. But the way this record started is when I make records, I always have to have a concept for a record. When I did my Twisted Blues records, it was more like blues oriented. When I did Who Gives a Funk, it was more like an R&B soul kind of thing. So I was always playing those boogaloo tunes with organ trios and stuff like that. And I wanted to make something to write in that style. So that's kind of the idea behind it. And then once I get a concept for a record, then I start listening to a lot of that kind of music. So I get those kind of boogaloo records, and this is not exactly a boogaloo record. It's a mix of boogaloo and you can think about it as boogaloo meets Beaches Brew. So I listen to Electric Miles records, Freddie Hubbard, like the CTI years when it kind of gets electric, and then a lot of the boogaloo stuff from Lou Donaldson, some George Benson, some Graham Greene, and there's a bunch of that stuff out there. Actually, the most classic boogaloo song to me is Lee Morgan's Sidewinder. I think that's kind of one of the first ones. So that's what I was kind of going for in this record. And once I have a concept, I start listening to records and I start kind of picking up the grooves and the kind of vibe, and then I start writing in that kind of direction, and that's usually what gets me inspired. I don't just sit and write. I gotta have something to stimulate my brain. I've always been lucky to have access to the guys that are pretty much my heroes, or guys that I'm heavily influenced by, which is amazing because I guess only if you live in New York you can kind of experience that. Maybe in LA too, but the way it works with me is a lot of times when I write music for a record, I actually think about who's gonna play on it, especially drum-wise. So I have a kind of an idea of the groove and how I kind of want it to feel. And usually the sound of the band starts with the drummer. So I have a variety of guys that I like to play with, and I just kind of know what I'm gonna get out of each of them. So that's how the process starts. In terms of drums, on this record I had Steve Ferroni, Dave Weckl, and Vinny Colaiuta. And I played with all those guys enough that I know what I'm gonna get from each of them, so I kind of chose the tunes to fit their playing. And then it was the same with bass. I had Willie, James Genius, and John Patitucci. So I play with them enough, again, to know what they're gonna do with each song. And also what's really important for me is to get the right drummer and bass player together. And Vinny and Patitucci and John have been playing together forever, so I knew that would be a good match. I toured a bunch with Weckl, with Dave, and with James Genius, so that was a kind of an easy pick. And Steve Ferroni and Will Lee have been playing together for years. They have so much history, and we've done a bunch of gigs together. So it was pretty easy for me to choose the rhythm sections and choose what tunes they're gonna play on. I kind of think about it ahead of time. Sometimes it actually influenced me writing the songs. And then the keyboard players were Brian Charette and Jerry Z, and they play with me in New York, so that's pretty easy in terms of choosing who's gonna play on what. Well, I do all my records live. I treat them as jazz records, So the whole idea is to have interaction with everybody in real time. You know, I'm not into doing overdubs and all that kind of stuff. So to me, it's just getting the kind of band sound to gel and have interaction with everybody. Although it doesn't sound always like a jazz record, the improvisational part and the whole idea behind it is like recording a jazz record. So we play live and we're just trying to get the best take we can. There is some overdubs that happens later, you know, like once in a while if I need a solo guest artist or something like that, then I'll overdub that. But it usually happens on pretty grooves that are kind of static. So you don't, you know, the interaction is not as important because it's important for me to kind of have the sound of a band when it's really happening in real time. I'm not into the whole overdubbing thing. I recorded at Sweetwater and that was an amazing opportunity. It's just incredible. What happened is I got turned on to those guys by Jimmy Haslip, bass player that tours with me a lot. He told me about this situation. I called them and it was pretty amazing. They're totally supportive and they let us record in this amazing studio that I have. This facility is incredible. We went there it was 3 different sessions, so we were there for like, I don't know, 2 days at a time. It's like 6 days in total. It's incredible. It's really, really a gift to be able to record there. Those guys are awesome. Well, first of all, I'm very excited because we got a lot of dates all over the US, so that's really awesome. I tried to get a good set list where I play some of the old stuff and some new stuff and try to give it new angles because I don't want the music to become stale. I want the stuff to be kind of happening every night and we're going for stuff. So I just tried to put together a nice set list that would inspire me first and then inspire Dave and Jimmy, and then whatever happens at the gig, you know, that's kind of where the fun begins. But I try to find tunes that are, you know, we have the forms that we kind of know what we're doing, but we also can really open things up and make it exciting. Because, you know, when you play like 20 or 30 shows almost every night, you kind of have to I guess get inspired in different kind of ways. So it's really important to find the right tunes and to kind of make sure there's enough places there when it's open that you can, you know, explore and go to different things every night. That's what I'm excited about. I don't especially like funk. I just like old type of music. My playing is basically a mix of jazz or bebop and blues, and then I fit funk grooves and R&B grooves into it. So you know, I just like all the good guys. In terms of funk players, I don't really think about it like that. There's a lot of really great rhythm players. So the guys that plays on the James Brown records, of course, the guitar player from Earth, Wind and Fire. You know, there's a lot of great tracks on like, you know, Michael Jackson records that have great rhythm guitar stuff. It's all over really. Prince has great rhythm guitar. It's just like, it's not specific people, it's just the whole idea of those kind of grooves, you know, funkadelic, P-funk. It's kind of little bits and pieces of great rhythm stuff. And I just incorporate it into my jazz harmony, you can call it, and some of my blues playing really, and I just make this kind of, I mesh it all together into something that I like, really. Well, Strat is like my main instrument, really. I feel most comfortable on it, the neck, the shape, and it's just in terms of the tone, I kind of can get anything I need out of it. But I mostly, when I can, when I tour and I play a Strat and a Tele, so I'm mixed between a Strat and a Tele. It's been going on for a couple of years now, the last few records I've done. Actually, since Twisted Blues, I've been using a Strat and a Tele. The thing is, when you tour, sometimes it's hard to travel with more than one guitar, which is a bummer, but whenever I can, I'll bring a Strat and a Tele. But basically, if you ask me to use one guitar, I'll be a Strat. Although on this last record, on Booga Looga Loo, and the record before, I've been using a fair amount of Les Paul on some tracks. So I would say that now it's a mix of Strat, Tele, and a Les Paul. But this is where I feel the most comfortable, and if I need to have one guitar to do it all, that's the one. That's the Stratocaster. I try to listen to everything from, the classic jazz stuff or blues stuff that, there's so much out there from the old catalogs of stuff. It's kind of endless. So I try to pick up on those things, whether it's like some Miles stuff or, I don't know, Herbie, Chick. I don't know, it's hard for me to tell. I listen to everything really. But I also try to really be aware of what's going on in the music today. So whether I love pop music, I love songwriting. So I try to find a good songwriters, and I love pop stuff. So I don't want to name names because people will laugh at me, but I love pop. Katy Perry, Rihanna, all that stuff. I love it. It's great. To me, if the songs are great, then that's what I like. I grew up on the Beatles, And then everything that's new, like contemporary jazz I listen to. I listen to some R&B just to see what's up. And I don't know, just try to be open. There's so much music out there, it's pretty hard to cover it all. Well, I don't think I play blues better than guys out of Texas or anywhere. I'm not really a blues player, but I studied that because I think blues is a big part of just jazz and modern music in general. I don't know, I just like those records, whether it's Stevie Ray Vaughan records or old Albert King, Albert Collins. I'm not a blues player, but I try to study the language as much as I can. I think the fact that the Texas guys, like the guys from the Stevie Ray Vaughan's band that I've done a bunch of records with and I play with live, I think the reason they like to play with me is because I took their kind of heritage and I mixed it with jazz, which is my idea of those Twisted Blues records. And for them it was like a fresh angle on what they pretty much invented and do, because there's plenty of Stevie Ray Vaughan imitators out there. Some of them are great, but I was really not going for that. I was going for just trying to learn the blues language and mixing it with my own vocabulary of jazz and R&B and all that kind of stuff. So thank you for the compliment, but it's just a mix of different things.